Hello class, hope you all doing okay. Welcome to another lesson. Today we will be looking at punctuation markers. Well, before we continue with our today's lesson, let's have a review on the last class. So what did we treat last class? Well, if you have been reading, you will agree with me that during the last lesson we were talking on the simple past tenses. What did we say the simple past tenses were? We said the simple past tenses were tenses that are used to talk about events of the past. They are used in narration, talking about activities that have already happened, activities that happened in the past. We said the past could be a very long time ago, 10 years, hundreds of years, yesterday, one day ago, or a few minutes ago. So we say when we are talking about anything that has finished happening, that has already happened, we talk about it using the simple past tense. We also saw how the simple past tenses are formed. We saw the three major markers of the simple past tenses, which were the ed, the d, and the ied. So we said the simple past tenses are formed by either adding a d to the end of the last letter of the word, or adding an ed to the end of the last letter, or replacing the end letter with an ied, or doubling the end letters and adding an ed. We said verbs that follow this pattern of formation are called regular verbs. Verbs that form their past tense by either adding a d, an ed, or an ied, or doubling the end letters plus an ed are called regular verbs. We also, however, acknowledge the fact that some verbs form their past tenses, bringing in different words completely. And we said such verbs are called irregular verbs. Well, now we'll be talking on punctuations. We'll be looking at three major punctuation markers of the English language. We'll be talking about the full stops, the commas, the capital letters, and the apostrophe. For today's class, we'll be talking about the full stops and the commas. And in the subsequent lessons, we'll talk about the capital letters and the apostrophe. Study the three below. Well, what do you see? You see different punctuation markers. You see the full stop, you see the commas, you see the parentheses, you see the question mark, you see bracket, you see suspension markers, colons, semicolons. But today, we will be treating the commas and the full stop for our today's class. So what is the full stop used for? When do we use full stops? The full stop is used as the following instances. At the end of a sentence showing that a thought is complete. Use a full stop when we have expressed a complete idea. When you want to say something, no matter how long the thing is, you only use the full stop or bring in a full stop when you finish completing a particular idea, when that thought has ended. For example, the children are playing. The children are playing. So we see that the idea has been expressed. The children are playing. So after that, a full stop can come. Also, the full stop is used to mark off initials. What are initials? Initials are the first letters of our names. For example, the name J.T. Tom West. John Teddy Tom West. So when you want to use the short form or the first letters, you want to abbreviate the name, you write J.T. Tom West. When you write the J, a full stop is supposed to come in under the T, another full stop before the other names. So you use full stops to mark off initials. For example, my favorite Nigerian actor is J.T. Tom West. We also use a full stop at the end of abbreviations. For example, the CEO arrived late for the meeting. The CEO arrived late for the meeting. So we don't say the C full stop, E full stop, O full stop. We use it at the end of the abbreviation. So instead of saying the C, E, O arrived late at the meeting, or rather say the CEO arrived late at the meeting. So we abbreviate the company executive officer arrived late for the meeting. We also use the full stop when talking about titles. When you have to address someone with a title, or you have to write a name using a title, for example, Reverend Ebon. After the Reverend, you put a full stop before putting in Ebon, as in Mr. Reed. You see the first example above, in the first example in the chart is marked an X because it's wrong. It is just Mr. Reed without the full stop. But you rather put Mr. full stop and then the Reed. So the correct, you don't say Mr. Reed, you say Mr. Reed. So the full stop after the M, after the Mr. We also use full stops when we're talking about degrees as a Bachelor of Arts, Masters of Science, and PhD. Doctor of Philosophy. So after in between each of the letters in the abbreviations of the degrees, Bachelor of Arts is B, full stop, Bachelor, B for Bachelor, full stop, A for Arts, full stop, and then M for Masters, full stop, and S for Science, full stop, and Philosophy, full stop, Doctor, full stop. So you also use the full stop when talking about degrees. Now let's look at the commas, the usage of the comma. What is the main function of the comma? How is it used? When should the comma be used? The comma is a mark used to separate words or group of words. It is also used to know where there is a slight pause in a sentence not joined by a conjunction. So the comma is used to separate words together or to separate group of words together or to know where there is a pause in a conversation or in a writing. For example, John bought rice, beans, coffee, milk, and sugar. So we are trying to list out the different items that John bought. So there are different items that different words. John bought rice, beans, coffee, milk, and sugar. So we cannot say that John bought rice, beans, coffee, milk, and sugar. It makes it seem like it's one thing they're talking about. But to make someone know that there are different items, there are different things, that individuals will separate each of them using the comma. So rather say John bought rice, beans, coffee, milk, and sugar. The comma is also used to separate phrases and clauses within a sentence. For example, yesterday, after school, I went to the farm. Yesterday is a phrase. After school is another phrase. Then I went to the farm. So the complete sentence is yesterday, after school, I went to the farm. So to create pauses so that speaking will be easier and more pleasurable, you will use the comma to separate the clauses, each idea from the other, so that one can speak smoothly using less strength and less energy. So you rather, instead of saying yesterday after school I went to the farm, you rather say yesterday after school I went to the farm. The comma is also used to separate long sentences linked by a conjunction. For example, I intended to come home early, but the bus delayed. These are two different sentences joined by a subordinated conjunction there, the subordinated conjunction but, to make it one. So when we've joined these two sentences and made them to become one using a conjunction, we use a comma to separate one idea from the other, and the comma comes before the conjunction. So instead of saying, I intended to come home early but the bus delayed, you rather say, I intended to come home early but the bus delayed. So the but comes, the comma comes before the but, after the first idea. So the comma comes at the end of the first idea. I intended to come home early but the bus delayed. So you will not say, I intended to come home early but the bus delayed. That's wrong. So you rather say, I intended to come home early but the bus delayed. The comma is also used before quotations. For example, he said, together we stand, divided we fall. So when you want to talk about something that you want to quote somebody, who made a great speech that treat you, before saying what the person said, after announcing the person, like he said, you put a comma before actually saying what you put in the quotation. Before saying the quoted words, he said, together we stand, divided we fall. So the comma comes before the quotation mark and not in between, not after or in between. So after the subject, after the verb. So he said, Peter said, together we stand, divided we fall. He said, comma, together we stand, divided we fall. Take note when not to use a comma. Take note when you shouldn't use a comma, places where the comma is not appropriate to be used. Be careful not to use a comma between a subject and its verb. For example, the man is tall. You cannot say that the man is tall. You rather say the man is tall. So the comma, there is no comma between a subject and a verb. The subject here is the man. It's man, and the verb to be is. So you will not put the man and then you put a comma, is tall. It's wrong. You rather say the man is tall. Well, it's one idea. Also, the comma is often omitted. The comma is mostly not to be used before the conjunction and. The comma is often omitted before the conjunction and. So instead of saying the man and the fat boy are fighting, you rather say the man and the fat boy are fighting. So you don't use a comma before a conjunction. You don't say the man and the fat boy are fighting. You rather say the man and the fat boy are fighting, as in the second example. So far we'll be looking at the punctuations, the full stop, and the commas. And we said the full stop is used at the end of sentences to show that a thought has been complete. It is used at the end of abbreviations, as in the CEO. It is used at the end for titles, as in Mr. Reed, Mr. and then the dot, and then Reed. We also saw the comma and its various usage. And we also saw when not to use the commas. So be careful in your writing, when writing your essays or composition, be careful where to know where you have to put these punctuation markers and where you don't have to put them. Because when you place a punctuation mark in a wrong direction, you'll be penalized for it. This brings us to the end of this lesson. See you next class.